I'm not a political expert here, but I can tell you from where I stood, it looked like Clyburn was instrumental in getting Biden in a position where he could take the presidency. And so as a result of this, there's a conversation to basically say, okay, what's in it for us, right? We should get something back. Now, remember that getting something back kind of has three levels to it, right? Let's make this clear. Quid pro quo has at least three levels to it. So Clyburn does a favor for Joe Biden, gets him into the White House, which is hard. You know, it takes a lot of money, you got to pull a lot of strings, stuff like that. Clyburn wasn't the only one, but he was important. Again, without South Carolina, it would have been tough for Biden to take the rest of the country. Same thing with Obama. Obama, when he started going down south and kicking butt, that's when Obama kind of got over the hump. So I believe that this is my inclination, that this is kind of what makes Clyburn a power broker in the Democratic Party. But remember that when it comes to quid pro quo, and in politics, favors are returned all the time. When it comes to the quid pro quo, there are at least three levels to this. And the three levels would be what's in it for Clyburn. That's the individual level. The second tier is what's in it for the Black elite, and I'm talking about Black folks who get jobs with government officials. I'm talking about your Roland Martins and your Angela Rye's and the people who again, there's a reason why these individuals go campaign for the Democrats, stuff like that, because there are favors. Vicky Dillard might say that there are butter biscuits at the end of the trail. I'm not going to say butter biscuits because it's 9 in the morning right now when I'm recording this. I don't want to start off the day by being a bitter jerk. So let me just go ahead and just say there's rewards, there's gold at the end of that rainbow for the little leprechauns that are willing to go do the work. And then there's the third tier of quid pro quo, which is what you're doing for the masses, right? What are you doing for millions and millions and millions and millions of people without their political support, nothing could get done, right? Nothing can happen good if you don't get those votes. So here's the thing with Clyburn, and here's the thing about Lift Every Voice and all this stuff. I'm not here to say that Lift Every Voice shouldn't be the national hymn. Make it the national anthem. I don't care. Let's throw it all in there. Let's make it the Pledge of Allegiance, right? In fact, let's do a vote amongst intelligent Black people. Everybody who votes to make Lift Every Voice the national anthem, to replace My Country 'Tis of Thee with Lift Every Voice and say aye. Give me an aye in the chat if you agree that we should do that, and we can pass that resolution now so they'll at least know where we stand. Nothing against Lift Every Voice, but here's the thing that I'd like to say to Mr. Clyburn. Maybe rather than lifting every voice, I would like to actually lift every bank account. Rather than singing songs, about how miserable it's been to be Black, I'd rather us sing songs about how wonderful it is to get that reparations check. Hashtag cut the check. Put a hashtag cut the check in the chat if you understand the power of money, if you understand the power of economics. Let me tell you about Mr. James Clyburn. Mr. Clyburn, I'm looking on his website right now about it's opensecrets.org, where they talk about the money. You guys know my PhD's in finance, so you get into the realm of money. That's when my superpowers emerge. That's when I get to be a little bit of a financial ninja. But you don't have to be a financial ninja to know that to run for office, Mr. Clyburn's campaign committee raised about $3.4 million, which is actually a relatively small number compared to down in Georgia, where Warnock had to raise, I think, over $100 million, which was kind of crazy. But that was a big race. It had national implications. I get that, right? But so he had to raise about $3.4 million. The breakdown of the industries that gave him money: lawyers and law firms gave him the most money. Insurance companies, some vote saying super PAC or something. Cox Industries. So these are companies. These are companies that supported his ability to run for office. And the danger of money is that money is a little bit like a drug. Money's like a little bit of a baby crack pipe that some of our politicians smoke on. They hitting it like Pookie in New Jack City, right? It be calling me, man. It be calling me. So they're hitting that financial crack pipe. And what the financial crack pipe does is sometimes it causes you to do what a dope head might do. A financial crackhead might be somebody who's going to tell a few lies. Some of y'all got some drug addicts in your family, right? So your politicians are financial drug addicts or financial crackheads. And so the crackhead might lie to you every now and then. He might rob you so he can get your money, so he can go and buy some crack. At the very least, I hope we can agree that, that the person in our family, we might love him. The one that's hooked on dope, we might love him, but we might keep our distance. We're going to socially distance from him because you don't know what you're going to get. He will go to grandma's house and go in grandma's purse when she ain't looking, right? So the point I'm getting at here is this. Clyburn is a guy, like all the politicians, they have to respond to the money. They need the money. And in order to respond to the money, to get access to the financial crack pipe, they've got to serve the dope dealers. They got to serve the people that are getting them the financial crack. Those are the corporations, right? And but here's the other thing too. Clyburn, amongst out of anybody, should understand the significance of money when it comes to having power in America. Right? When you read books like Powernomics, things like that, things that we talk about on this platform, you will know that money drives everything. Money. How many of you? Give me a yes or no. Let's break it down to the individual level. If I put $1 million in your bank account tomorrow, how many of you would feel better about life? Right? How many of you would feel a little bit better? Like, would you feel at least a little less oppressed if you had $1 million in your bank account? Like seriously, like I'm just asking you simply, give me a yes or no. Give me a yes or no in the chat. How many of you would feel a little bit better tomorrow if you had money in the bank? If you knew that you could go buy you a big house tomorrow, or if you knew that you had some wealth for your babies, how many of you would feel a little bit better, a little bit less oppressed? How many of you would be able to at least tolerate just a little bit more, have a little bit more tolerance for all the struggles that might come with being Black, right? How many of you would feel a little bit more powerful if you looked in your bank account and they said your balance today is $1,248,922.18? Would you feel better? Would you feel more powerful? Give me a yes or no. Good. I say the answer is yes, right? The answer is yes. And so why does that come into play? Well, because Clyburn understands this, right? James Clyburn, if you're watching, I don't hate you. I don't want to do this, right? I don't really like to go and have to say things that seem like I'm really going after the Black politicians. But I think that it's important that we do this thing that a lot of people don't do called tell the truth. And one of the things that you have to tell the truth about is an often cited statistic that Dr. Claude Anderson points out in the book Black Labor, White Wealth, which actually, by the way, you can get Dr. Anderson's books at powernomics.com. Everybody should read his books because they're fascinating. He shows you that having more Black elected officials has almost nothing to do. That having more Black elected officials does almost nothing for the economic condition of Black people. Did y'all know this? How many of y'all knew? Give me a yes or no in the chat if you knew this. How many of y'all knew? How many of you knew that having more Black elected officials has done almost nothing for Black people over 30, 40, 50-year period when it comes to the percentage of Black people getting out of poverty, when it comes to incarceration rates, when it comes to unemployment rates, when it comes to wealth levels? That more Black politicians have done that. It's done nothing for Black people. So, and the part of the reason that it's done nothing for Black people, definitely economically, is because there's a focus on symbolism over substance, right? And I know that singing "Lift Every Voice and Sing" and knowing that it's the national hymn, that's going to maybe make some people feel better because white people are acknowledging you, which seems to be something that a lot of us care about.